But yeah, so my voice is gone from screaming during the Marvel animation panel, which was great. Oh my god, the Marvel animation panel was so good. There are a few worries that I have and some things that I'm really excited about. For example, I'm a little unsure about the whole X-Men '97. Like the X-Men the animated series has always been a show that dealt with. Look at this. But yeah, X-Men '97 has always been a show that where the X-Men have kind of been like the minority, and it dealt with the idea of minorities and groups being oppressed, different things like that, which I'm fine with. I think that's an important part of the X-Men mythos, and I think that needs to be addressed. I think one of the concerns that myself and other people have is that the show might feel like it's just kind of beating you over the head, or like talking at you, or lecturing to you, or something like that. And the problem with doing that is you lose your audience. Like, people walk away, they stop watching, and then your message just never gets delivered. Plus, I don't want to be taken out of nostalgia. So there's that. Spider-Man freshman year, as far as I can tell, is not going to be in continuity. It's kind of an answer to the question, what would life of Peter Parker look like if Norman Osborn had been his mentor instead of Tony Stark? And there's a few other characters that are involved in there that we simply just haven't seen yet. So I don't know exactly how that's going to go. And then, God, what else is there? I Am Groot looks amazing. It looks absolutely hilarious. It looks like it's just it's like I tweeted this out, and it looks like the Minions meets Guardians of the Galaxy, if that makes any sense, right? It's going to be fun, it's going to be lighthearted, it's going to be really enjoyable, and it's going to be a blast. So I'm actually going to watch it. I think it's going to be a great show. What If Season 2? They already confirmed Season 3. They're like, Season 3 is happening. But What If Season 2 looks really, really cool. And the trailer, which I don't know if the trailer's dropped publicly yet, I haven't looked it up on YouTube, but there was some really cool stuff. Oh, cool. Looks like they're getting ready to start letting people in. There was some really, really cool stuff. So there was like a scene where like Odin fought Winru, the Mandarin, when he had the 10 rings, which looks really cool. Marvel 1602 is going to play a major role in the What If. Like, the way it was with like the whole Infinity Stones and like Ultron and all that kind of stuff in season 1. Marvel 1602 looks like it's going to be the main event for What If Season 2. There is... Listen, we got to see the first episode. No spoilers for that, but it's pretty solid. Iron Man, the episode from Season 1, where it was supposed to be that Iron Man lands on Sakaar, they're doing that in Season 2. So that's going to be cool. But yeah, I mean, the What If Season 2 looks like it's going to be great. It really just kind of seems like it picks up where Season 1 left off. So those of you guys who were expecting Season 1 for it to be like the end, and Season 2 is just totally removed and has nothing to do with any of that stuff, that's actually not the case. It just picks back up with like the Rogers, Black Widow, and Captain Carter team. That just kind of goes forward and does their thing. So that's going to be fun. Yeah, having said that, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Marvel Zombies is going to be rated TV mature. That blew the mind of everybody in the announcement. They were just like, holy shit, it's TV mature. That blew everybody's mind, which is going to be really, really cool because it looks like it's going to be really, really dark. So for those of you guys who are curious about this, imagine if What If was a Marvel Max line. And that's what it looks like the show is going to be, which I'm very excited about because Marvel Max was Marvel Comics adult impact, right? Like violence, craziness, all kinds of stuff. It was really, really good. I mean, my question is this like an offshoot of the Skrulls? Because, Karan, what do you think, man? Because the Skrull, not the Skrulls, the Skrull, the Skrulls, the Skrulls were like, they were good guys, right? Like they were benign. They weren't like terrible people.
It was implied that they were mostly like good guys, but also we only got to see like a really small sample size of everything that was going on. And like I do legitimately think it's the Skrulls because of the fact that there's that scene where I think it's just Nick Fury is like sitting down and he's surrounded by all of the dudes that look the same.
It's not Nick Fury, but it is definitely the Skrulls.
Yeah. I couldn't remember who was like sitting down and was just surrounded by dudes with the same face.
Yeah, that's a white guy I don't recognize. But the Skrulls, I mean, Secret Invasion is a Skrull, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I wonder if it's like a religious group.
I mean, the Skrulls are religious.
That's yeah, they're not like a religious fanatic group. Because Gore the God Butcher opens the door for gods from other worlds. So what you have, are you guys familiar with the Skrulls?
Yeah.
Well, you are because you worked on the history of our religion.
That's true, yeah.
Okay, so Ron and Tony, you know, like in the comics, the Celestials came to Earth. They created the Deviants, the Eternals, and then genes would manifest later on in regular humans, so you get mutants and stuff like that. On Earth in the comics, the Deviants were basically defeated by the Celestials during the second host. They were all but obliterated. They took off underground, and that was the end of them. The Eternals remained on Earth. There was a bit of a civil war. Some took off to Saturn. That's how you get Thanos. And then humans inherited them. On Skrullos, it was not that case. It was not that way. The Deviant Skrulls massacred all the Eternal Skrulls for the most part. No, they massacred all the baseline Skrulls. And there was a war between the Deviants and the Eternal Skrulls.
Yes.
Shara and Key3, not Shara and Key3, Clinton and Slugger. These weird ass names.
Say that 10 times.
Yeah, not even lying, right?
Jonathan and Kate.
Yeah, Jonathan and Kate.
There you go, easy. Jonathan, Charlotte.
The way it played out in the comics, you had Clinton and Slugger, and I can't remember which one. I want to say the girl was the Deviant, the guy was the Eternal.
I believe that was the case. Yes.
Yeah. And then basically they went forward as what was in effect the Deviant Skrulls becoming like the dominant group of Skrulls. But that's an instance where the Deviants basically won. Now there were the Dire Wraiths, but that's a whole different beast.
That's like way outside.
Yeah, that's a whole different system.
Yeah.
So my idea is, what if this is like a religious? They're like religious settings, and they follow Shara and Key3 or some. They follow those scroll gods, those weird ass names, and like they're driven to do this based on their like belief systems.
Okay, I'm trying to remember.
I don't know if it matters that they bring in gods, but
Secret Invasion. That's phase 6. Or phase
no,
5?
that's phase 5.
Okay, I was a little shaky on that because I'm super tired.
All we know about phase 6 is that we get Fantastic Four.
And Avengers.
And then it ends with the 2 Avengers movies.
Yeah,
we get 2 Avengers movies in 1 year. That's fucking nuts.
That's just like Infinity War and Endgame, right?
Now, here's the question: is it actually going to work out that way? Because they said the same shit with Infinity War and Avengers Endgame.
They cut that up.
Then they cut it up, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they were supposed to.
How could they do Secret Wars in one movie?
Because what I think they're doing here is, I think with the Kang Dynasty and with Secret Wars, as much as I love your theory here, I think the MCU is going to crisis on Infinite Earths its multiverse. I think they're going to crisis. I think that they are going to.
That's another thing they're gonna do for WB. Beat WB at their own shit.
I mean, WB, yeah, they did their Crisis on Infinite Earths, but strangely enough, it only affected the Arrowverse, and Ezra Miller kind of showed up before he groomed some kid and took off with it. So yeah, left the Speed Force with some teenager in his clutches and is doing whatever the hell, becoming the new Michael Jackson.
Man, dude,
Playing the role of Corey Feldman is going to be that teenage kid.
they ran.
Poor bastard.
They ran away. They stopped in Hawaii. They punched somebody, and then they ran off.
Yeah, that guy's crazy as shit. But no, I think
remember.
that
Yeah.
as a group. Although there's never been any scene with the Flash that will ever be as good as Bart Allen. Remember in Smallville?
Don't talk about that scene where he's like running in a green screen and he turns around.
I'm just saying, when like Bart Allen outraces Superman. Yeah.
That's the scene, yeah.
Yeah, it was great, man. At the time, it was great.
Why did they use Bart Allen? The most
Why not use Bart Allen?
He's like the least known Flash.
But he does cool. He has real cool stuff, though.
He was on Young Justice. He was the coolest Flash. Bart Allen in the New 52 sucks. Everybody hated the first Bart Allen story in the New 52. They wanted Young Justice Bart Allen. They were like, bring back the old Bart Allen. People hated that. But
I mean, New 52 had an entire share of problems.
It had all kinds of problems. Yeah, like I remember Sal had this amazing analogy or this amazing like discussion on the Weekly Poll, and he was like, you know how the New 52 happened, and it was like, I don't know. It's like, okay, so like we're gonna have this story called Flashpoint, and the Flash is gonna go back in time and he's gonna save his mom's life and he's gonna screw up the universe, but then he's gonna go back and he's gonna let her die, then he's gonna go back to the present, everything's gonna be okay. And he's like, and then Dan DiDio was like, but what if he didn't? Like, what if we did a Crisis right now? We're just gonna reboot right now. And it was like, what are you even talking about? And it's like, yes, we're gonna reboot everything. We're not gonna plan it out. We're just gonna do it. And
That's what happened?
No, he was making a joke for it. I mean, that's probably what happened.
I just like the idea of the meeting room of, and so Flashpoint ended, I feel really good about this story, and has a really cohesive ending, and then someone just slams their hands on the desk. Crisis.
Crisis.
What? Crisis.
When in fear, when in doubt, crisis.
Yes.
That's what DC did. They launched Future State. It was a catastrophic failure. So they're like, you know what? Dark crisis. Just crisis that shit.
Crisis.
Why not? I think that's what the MCU is going to do. I think the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to do a Crisis on Infinite Earths. I think the Kang Dynasty story is going to be the first half of that. It's going to be move counter move. So it's going to be Kang making his move. The Kang Dynasty, I don't think is about the idea of a bunch of kings, a council of kings. I think the Kang Dynasty is what they're calling Kang's Avengers team. He's going to have his own team, right? Because if he can manipulate time and control time, he can jump in and out of moments in between time, which means he could have snatched Wanda out from Doctor Strange too, and just been like, ally yourself with me, and I will actually show you a universe where you have kids that would love to have you as their mom, because their mom's dead.
Could you go back in time and like pick someone out like Cap?
He can do any
in
number of things. Yeah, that's the thing. He can jump back and forth through time. He can go anywhere in. Now, it may be one of those things because they already built up the idea of Nexus events. So maybe Captain America is just an incorruptible guy. No matter what happens, we'll never get like Hydra Cap. Because Cap's just incorruptible. In every universe across the multiverse, Steve Rogers is the scrawny ass kid who becomes Captain America with an incorruptible morality. And it's just like, no, Tony Stark, freedom because reasons, and like that said.
I still think there are going to be multiple Kangs, though. I think that would lead into the fact that there was already another Kang in Loki, and like I don't think.
No, that's the Kang they showed in Quantumania.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Kang they showed in Loki. That's the Kang from Quantumania.
He didn't act in this thing.
No. That's Immortus. Immortus is dead.
Yeah.
He Who Remains is dead.
Okay.
When he was killed, it basically opened the door because the idea, as far as I understand, from the writers and all that kind of stuff, is you had the multiverse, right? Multiple universes operating together.
Uh-huh.
The multiverse. Way back at some point in time. And then one of the Kangs realized that he could cross over to different universes.
Uh-huh.
And the other Kangs all realized it at the same time. And so all these Kangs started going to war against each other in multiverse. So what He Who Remains did is he separated every reality that led to his creation from the entire greater multiverse.
Okay.
And so that's why you got this sacred timeline. That's why you still had a multiverse, it just wasn't connected to the rest of the multiverse. What Loki and Sylvie did is they started, like when they did what they did, when Sylvie killed Immortus,
It slammed it back.
What it did is it created a whole bunch of threads that basically reconnected. So maybe it's still, I don't know why it is in this position, but the point is that it's reconnected with the rest of the multiverse, which is still Kang out here somewhere, and now he controls all of this as well, presumably. That's the case, because even now it's still a little bit confusing. But the point is that when it was all reconnected, He Who Remains was gone. That seemingly Kang won the Kang War of the multiverse in the beginning, which meant the TSA and all that was formed by Kang. That's why when Loki was thrown back to the TSA, because he was at the end of time. So when he was thrown, it was a statue of Kang instead of the Timekeepers, and so because Kang had won. So Kang at the end of the Loki series, the statue, that's the Kang we see at Quantumania. He's the main guy. And he's gonna be, and so Secret Wars is gonna be Kang's Avengers team, which is different Avengers from different places across the timeline who were controlled, manipulated, or whatever. Fingers crossed, it's some of them are Avengers that we haven't seen yet, that we've always wanted to see. So like King Hyperion or something like that. And then the other is going to be like Doctor Strange's team and like all the good guys from across the multiverse, different points in time, probably some other variation of the Illuminati or something like that, who are going to be fighting against the forces of Kang. So it's going to be Secret Wars insofar as you and I don't know about it because it's secret out there in the multiverse, and like that's it. But once it's done, right, you're looking at a multiversal lens. And all you have is what they did with Crisis on Infinite Earths, where you had New Earth. One single timeline. And that's it. And I think that's going to be the way they're going to consolidate everything with that.
Because it did say that it's ending the multiverse saga.
It's ending the multiverse saga. And so I think that's how they're going to end the multiverse. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to Crisis on Infinite Earths with Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars.
I think that would help a lot with the current.
That's our video on Kang, by the way. So there you go.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it all ends.